listening to Paco Radio, brought to you by Senol on FNR, Football Nation Radio.
Hello everybody and welcome to Paco Radio here on FNR Football Nation Radio, brought to you by Senol. My name is Nick Dabano and I'm joined here today by the coach of the under-20s and also the captain. We've got Nick Georgopoulos and Tomi Buljubasic joining us live in the studio. Guys, welcome. Nick, welcome back. Obviously, we here last year for season 1, but you're back. And Tommy, first time in the studios. Great to have you guys on board.
Awesome. Thanks for having us.
Well, obviously, let's get into the last weekend, guys. I mean, a good win on the road against Langwarrin. Unfortunately, it wasn't for the seniors, but you guys got the job done earlier in the day. I guess take us through last Saturday.
Yeah, it was trying conditions, Nick, to be honest. It's a decent drive down there from Pascoe and to go down there and we're supposed to play on the main pitch, then we sort of got put onto the back pitch, and which is fine. It was great. It was a nice pitch there too also. So it was just about just getting the boys focused, and it was wet, cold. It was, everything you wanted on a Melbourne's winter's day. So it was good. The boys adapted really well. We went 1-0 up in the first couple of minutes. Could have been 2-0 straight away after that from Liam. He scored the first also. And anyway, Langwarrin got back in the game like they did when we played them at CB Smith early in the year, which was great. So then we went behind 2-1, and then just before half time we got another. Went in 2-2, and then little team talk and got the boys sort of reorganised a bit more on top of that, and come out in the second half and scored straight away. Went up 3-2. And the boys just fought that out, and that was actually Liam's third was his hat-trick actually for the day, which is good. And brought young Ethan Georgopoulos on, and with 15 to go, and he scored the seal in about the last 10 minutes to go, which was really nice. And it's good to see. It's been building up. It's been a really good, challenging year actually, each and every week in the 21. So it's you don't sort of really know what you're coming up against each week. So that's the challenging part when you get senior players dropping down from the seniors, and you've got a few injuries in the 21s, and you bring a few up from the 18s, and which I think we've adjusted really well in doing that, and doing that against Langwarrin also. I thought really pleasing just to come out with a positive result 4-2, because they're a very good team. Then we'll sit on equal points going into the game on 22 points, and then to get that win sort of has pushed us away from them just for that game, which is great, and gives us a little bit of buffer.
How'd you see it from a playing point of view, Tommy? I mean, crazy game. You know, obviously winning that game, and you mentioned going into the game a tie on points. It's a massive result as well for you guys.
Yeah, it was huge. Leading up to the game, boys were pretty pumped for it. Conditions were tough, but as a centre-back, I like the wet conditions. But yeah, we went ahead early, went down 2-1. Defensively, I thought, from my point of view, thought the goals we copped were poor. But we bounced back, and I thought it was a deserved result in the end, and yeah, hopefully take that into Shepparton this week.
Have you guys seen this season to date? Obviously, this is your first sort of continuous year of football after 2 interrupted seasons. Obviously, none in 2020, but 2021, such a disrupted season in terms of, the whole year. But now you're starting to get some consistent games, and I guess how have you seen, you guys throughout this year so far?
I'll let Tommy talk, because he's the one who's missed plenty of football.
Yeah.
I feel a little bit for those boys at that age, with the 03s, the 02s, not so much the 04s and 05s. They've had plenty of football with the MPL, JMPL sort of thing going on. So they've been sort of fortunate, but, we've had to be patient with Tommy and his teammates moving forward sort of thing, because we know that they've missed a fair bit of football. But look, I'll let Tommy explain, because it's more about him more than anything else, really.
Yeah, so first time we got locked down, we got locked down the day before the season actually kicked off, which was tough. It was actually disappointing, because I think we had a chance of actually doing something that season. And then last year, obviously, getting cut continuously. We got cut 3-4 times, and we only ended up playing 13, 14 games last year. So in total, most of us have only played about 25 games in about 3 years, which is unheard of. It's not even a full season in some parts of the world, but it's been tough. I think a lot of us have gone backwards, but, I think this season we've had a good good start, developing. A few of us have had chances training with the seniors, coming off the bench with the seniors. So I think that's shown that we have developed this season, and hopefully more good things to come this season.
So as a player, how frustrating is it during that period? How did you sort of stay fit, stay ready during that period, especially last season? Because we were chatting to Terence Carter as well with Oliver Stankovsky last week, saying about, it was so hard to just get up on a whim, like, oh, you're playing this week now, you're out of lockdown, you're back, and, you have to sort of stay prepared. For yourself, how did you find it from a playing point of view?
So the first time we got locked down, I think it was good in a way that we got to reset, but missed it a lot.
Yeah.
Just one-on-one park sessions, getting on with mates. So at that point I was in year 12 the first time we got locked down, so we weren't even at school to play football at lunchtime, so I lost that too. Last year was okay because we had that start where it was consistent like a normal pre-season. We played our games, and then all of a sudden we got locked down, and under Ollie's, who was our coach last year, we had that much running to do. It was pretty crazy, but it was hard to motivate.
Yeah.
But last year we were close to that top spot, and I think that motivated all of us to keep going. We'll send in our Strava stats into our group chat, send in the selfies, and everyone was on board with it. So it was tough, but we did it because we knew we had an end goal, and unfortunately couldn't achieve that last year, but hopefully we can do it this year.
Nick, for yourself, coaching, I mean, how hard was it for you? Obviously, this is your first season of 20s, but going back to last year, you obviously were coaching a different team, but now getting that continuity this year as a coach and in terms of planning and everything else, I mean, how frustrating was last year in terms of not having that consistency, not being able to plan even weeks ahead, but sort of have to go week by week and just see whatever really happens?
Yeah, look, it was difficult. Like I said, and like Tommy said, a lot of the boys were on the Strava, and we'll sort of manage them the best we could, sort of thing, and just to try and keep them motivated and keep them interested. And like I said, they're committed boys. They're really, really good, and a lot of those boys, obviously, I've had over the years. So it was just about them to sort of be mentally strong, getting through that sort of thing, and they keep them focused, and we just kept persisting with them, sort of thing. Just so, you know what, if you want to do it, do it. Don't. If you don't feel like, you know what, you're up today to go and do it, because, it was like, Nick, it was difficult. You know what I mean? It was even yourself as a person just to get up and get motivated and go to work, you know what I mean? You come home and it's just like the normal story where you look forward normally going to training. It's like, oh, what am I going to do tonight? Sort of, you know what I mean? So it did get hard at times, sort of thing, and obviously just text messaging, phone calls with the boys, sort of thing, and just keeping them, keeping them happy more than anything else. So, and they were really good. And then obviously, coming into the end of last season and virtually coming into a pre-season with a lot of the newer boys, sort of thing, that I hadn't coached before, sort of thing, it was just about them sort of getting back into the rhythm of it more than anything else. And there was no rush from me either with the 21s. It was just about them getting back, just kicking the ball, just enjoying it a little bit, sort of thing. And we said, well, our season doesn't start to April. So we sort of said, you know what, let's just take it easy.
Yeah.
We don't want any injuries. We don't want to rush into it. We can go 100 miles an hour if we wanted to, but we thought, no, they've missed too much football. And we just want to be really, really careful with them. And we're just speaking with Tommy outside, actually, just moments ago before we come inside. And we just sort of said that, I think we've sort of balanced it the right way when we've come into this season. And I think really now it's sort of showing now that we've really been really consistent over the second half of the year, that we've built up to where we are now, sort of thing, and we've had very limited injuries also, and which was the key more than anything else.
How have you found the transition into coaching a 20s side this year? How have you found it personally in terms of taking that step this year?
Yeah, look, we had a process in place that we wanted to sort of see happen at the club. When I initially sat down with Lou towards the end of last season, and just obviously we have a little crop that are coming through, which a majority of the boys in the 18s and some in the 21s, and have been playing 21s this season. And we wanted virtually a pool of 35, 36 players between the 18s and 21s, and to have a little pathway and show them that there is a vision at the club to say that we want you to come through the 18s, 21s, and then into the senior group. And we have seen that, especially in training sessions where some of the boys even on the 18s list are training with the seniors. They're not even training with me anymore, with the 18s or 21s. And then boys with, the 21s, they go up and train with the seniors. And then they 18s and 21s virtually train 3 days, 4 days a week together. And I've never seen, Nick, at any club where you have your 18s, 21s, and even your senior group that know virtually every name of every player within those 3 teams. And I think we've created that this year, and it's a credit to some of the older boys that probably think, the younger ones are coming in to sort of take their positions maybe. But it's been a real building process moving forward, and it's a credit to the older boys, the young ones that are trying to push the older ones along a little bit, and they're trying to stop the young ones from pushing them out of their positions too, also sort of thing. So we've had this really good bond within the 2 change rooms, and I think it just shows between what the 18s have done so far this year and what the 21s have done. And it was a new challenge for me, but I sort of knew moving forward that as long as we can get these 2 groups to work together, they're going to bring the best out of each other. And I think we've seen that over this good 6 months that we've had together, and it's really sort of showed along the way that, don't worry about age. These boys are really competitive and they're footballers and they want to play. So at the end of the day, I don't care if he's 16, 18, 21, but you know what? If he's good enough to go and play in the 21s, he's good enough to play in senior as well. So be it.
For yourself, Tommy, how much of a motivator is it when you see that there is that clear pathway for yourself and your teammates and everyone else, that there is opportunities, coming up in the seniors, and obviously the seniors being in the midst of a promotion push at the moment, obviously a really exciting, group to be around right now. But for yourself personally, how much of a motivator is it that there is that chance to make that leap?
Yeah, it gives you hope. I've been at the club since under 7s, so it's 2008, and worked all the way through the age groups, and seeing that it happened earlier as well, where we've had players come through. We've had Jesse Barbers, we've had those sorts of players come through, and we've seen it this year. And hopefully it continues. But yeah, it's positive.
And in terms of, Nick, you mentioned you get players coming up and players coming down and players then going back to the seniors and everything else. In terms of planning, and I'll ask the same for you as well, Tom, in terms of just working with different teammates every week, how do you juggle that, like in terms of a week-to-week thing? Like, do you chat to Alex early in the week and he says, look, I want X amount of players and to come up and train and play this week? And how do you have that sort of pipeline of communication? Like, how does that all work?
Yeah, well, pretty much we have dinner on a Thursday night together at the club between Oliver, Alex and myself, and Ivan, the 18s coach, who unfortunately couldn't make it in tonight due to work commitments. But we have just a general conversation, and we go probably ramble on about 20 players in just over dinner and then a drink or two sort of thing over a Thursday night before we head into the weekend's games, and which players are virtually going to play for the 21s and which ones are staying with the seniors. So we work all that sort of thing and work through that. And then virtually after a Sunday on a Monday coming into the afternoon, we chat with Oliver and we go through the players' lists and which players are available for the seniors, which ones aren't, and which ones are available from the 21s to push up and help the seniors out on that Monday night or the Wednesday night. So that's a balancing act in itself. So that has been really positive in the transition in the way we've done that and worked through that, because it's only a phone call, text messages away, and it's like, bang, and it just happens. There's no hesitation, it just happens, and that's a great thing. So we've worked through that really, really well so far, and that's worked well within the boys too, and they're just on board straight away. Yep, no problem. There's no ifs or buts about it. And then the fact with the 18s that we do train the boys together with the 18s and 21s. So then obviously they're all competing for positions also. And then, like I said before, there's a couple of boys in the 18s that are virtually training with the seniors anyway at the moment for the last half a dozen weeks, if not 10 weeks. And they're on the 18s list still. They're not even on the 21s list.
Yeah.
Which is good for those boys, because then if they're not playing on a Friday night, they get the opportunity to, still go and play on the 18s on a Sunday, and then go and train with the seniors again on the Monday. So even if they do miss out on game time on a Friday night, so it's worked in really well in that sense. So yeah, look, it's not easy at all. It's a big balancing act, and there's a lot of phone calls and text messages in between sort of thing. But like I said before, we've worked with the boys and we've told them, and we've just said to them that, at the end of the day, there's 18 spots available on a Sunday for the 21s. Same for the 18s. Like, whoever's doing the best, whoever's working hard, you'll get the opportunity.
Yeah.
Same. Like, I'll just mention one boy that he's been playing 18s and he played 11 games and he was absolutely fantastic. And then one of the left backs, Isaac, went and played for the seniors the week after, sort of thing. And then we brought this young boy in and put him in the left back position in the 21s, and you would have thought it was like his 100th game that he played. He was absolutely fantastic, James, and credit to him. But that's what we've been building up towards, and that's what we want to see happen at the club. Just that, give these boys confidence within the younger group, and to say, you know what, there's no difference between 21s and 18s. So just go and play. Just go and enjoy yourself.
As a leader, obviously with different teammates every week, and you don't have the same squad you're working with, and you get some senior guys coming down as well who are older than you too. How is that? How do you deal with that as a captain as well, when you might have someone who is more senior as well coming down, and as well working with a new group every week?
Look, we all play a similar style of football, so we don't miss out on that component much. Getting used to each other's movements and all that sort of stuff, that does take a bit of time. With the senior players coming down, we haven't had one, I don't think, since about maybe round 3 or round 4. The first one we had was Alex Pavlidis on Saturday. And I was actually waiting for something at the canteen on Saturday, and one of the Langwarrin coaching staff came up to me and he goes, between you and Alex, he goes, we couldn't shut yous up during the game. And I think that's a bonus where you have that senior player, so you got that extra bit of leadership as well, leading from the back, and especially further from behind me too. It's good. So it's,
Well, in terms of against the psyche of a centre back, and having someone like Alex who is so experienced and has played it at such a high level, and him coming down and working alongside him, and obviously the relationship between yourself and your goalkeeper has to be pinpoint every time. How is that when you've got someone like Alex behind you who is so sure of himself between the sticks?
It gives you another bit of boost of confidence. You just need to have that sort of confidence being the leader of the team, but having someone like Alex behind you gives that extra boost. Like just the communication, time on the ball, where your options are to look up, time, composure, control the game, all that comes from the back. And having Alex there with that experience, it's essentially playing a senior brand of football when a player like that comes down. And
do you feel like that everyone else as well picks up off that energy, especially when you got someone in goals who is so experienced and he's barking out orders, but players get that lift because they're working with someone like him? Yeah, everyone gets a bit of confidence from it. I remember early on in the season we had Alex as well. I think it was round 2, and one of the young boys came up. He goes, "Why is he yelling so much?" Like, that's just part of it. I go, just wait till I kick in as well. It's part of the environment. That's what it is. So it's a confidence booster, definitely. Well, you mentioned you're off to Shepparton this weekend. No, we're home. You're home this week. Don't have to. Thank God, don't have to go. I've got 2 big road trips. But in terms of, I was going to mention about the road trip first of all, about going to Langwarrin, because we were talking to Terence last week. It's a 2-hour drive for him, and for some it might even be longer. But for you guys, in terms of preparation, going out on the road like that, does it play on your mind at all when you have the long car ride there? It's an early game as well. It's at 12:30 in the afternoon. You've got to get there extra early. How do you prepare for that sort of situation, like for those sort of games when it's that extra bit of distance to take into consideration instead of going just up the road to CB Smith? Yeah, Saturday was an interesting drive. Drove down by myself. Yeah. Had the music to keep me company. But turning onto, I think it was Barrett's Road, and you look and there's no road there. It's just mud and potholes. So I think that led the boys on. I think gave us a bit more fire in the belly. Like, look where we've come. Like, we need to get the points here. Yeah. With all due respect to Langwarrin, but it was an interesting drive. When we went up to Shepparton earlier on in the season, we caught a bus up, which was good. We caught it up with the seniors squad, so that wasn't too bad. Didn't have to drive, but driving down to Langwarrin was interesting by yourself. Yeah. For yourself, Nick, as a coach, do you find it difficult at all? Obviously, you don't have to do the running around, but you obviously it's a lot more time to think about the game as well. A lot more, extra bit of preparation. But how do you sort of see it? How do you sort of tackle that as a coach?
I sort of enjoy it, actually. I think it's just because it takes you out of your little comfort zone. You walk into CB Smith and it just feels like home, pretty much. You know what I mean? So it's good. It just takes you out of that comfort zone. You go down and there's no one else besides, you and the players and your little coaching staff that you got, sort of thing. So there's about 20 of you as you walk in and no one else is around besides the lady making coffees there, sort of thing. So it gives that different vibe, which is good. And a sense of probably, I don't know, sense of security in the fact that boys in that change room, that bond that you have, sort of thing, that brings you together in that moment, sort of thing, which is great. And it's like about us and that's it. We're here, you know?
Yeah.
Like I said, Shepparton's a long trip and obviously Langwarrin, sort of thing. So other than that, they're all pretty local and you just take it on board and just use it moving forward. So.
And this weekend, GV Suns, I guess, what are you expecting from them? We know they've had a bit of a tough year, in terms of the way they've been playing, obviously, at least from a senior level. But from what you guys have seen from them so far, what sort of game are you expecting this Saturday?
Yeah, I was speaking with Tommy outside before, so I was reviewing the game. Then when we played them early in the year, sort of thing. So, look, they were very good against us. For some reason or another, we just looked disjointed the first time we played them around. So hopefully in the way we've been playing and the way we've been going about things over the last 6 to 8 weeks, sort of thing, we've been very consistent in what we've been doing. So hopefully, we can bounce back against them because they were very good. They were very sharp. And they made it challenging for us up there.
Yeah.
And they made it really, really challenging. So, look, we're looking forward to bounce back against them. We really owe it to ourselves to sort of go out there and really perform this week.
And for yourself, Tommy, what sort of game are you expecting from them? I guess just at least from being out there and, coming up against them earlier in the year.
Expecting a very tough game. Shepparton, whenever we play them, is never easy. So, look, going back from last time, they had their chances, and from a defensive point of view, again, we were disappointed with the way we conceded again last time, and hopefully this week we can rectify those issues and bounce back.
Nick, just on your you mentioned obviously Alex has come into the club. Obviously he's a new face, and you've been at Pascoe Vale for so long now, and you obviously have worked with so many different coaches, but working with Alex, how has that relationship been, I guess, in these early stages? Obviously, you mentioned you have your Thursday dinners, a lot of communication, but working with him directly as 20s to seniors, I guess, how has that relationship been over the early stages?
Yeah, it's been really good, Nick. Like, I might have been one of the first to ring Alex up and congratulate him on getting the job, sort of thing, and welcome him to the club. And I just think that, he's got a wealth of knowledge, sort of thing, that I can use moving forward, sort of thing, and vice versa too, sort of thing. And we've both corresponded in that sort of way, and we just bounce off each other and help each other moving forward. And like our obviously priority is the seniors and getting them up there and getting them promoted, sort of thing. And hopefully we can get a few younger boys pushing through and helping, supporting him and doing that. So he's been really, really good. With Ollie too, obviously I've had a good relationship with Ollie over the last few years, sort of thing, working together with the 18s, 21s, and now with the senior group. So I just really think that the vibe between the two groups is really, really good. The correspondence, the communication, I think it's at a really good level where there's no, but this player, there's none of that. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's been really good. I need a player, take a player. 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever it is, take them. And you know what? And that's what it's about, Nick. It's getting those boys up there and promoted and getting them into the seniors and senior environment. So I'm loving it because when they do go in that senior environment, they're training with the senior. Then when they come back to the 21s, they come back with their shoulders up and say, you know what, here I am, I'm back. You know what I mean? So which is great and positive for me as a 21s coach. So really, really, really positive. I cannot say anything else than to say, you know what, in what we're doing, I think it's the right way. I think it's a positive way in the way we're moving forward within the groups that we have there, and just sort of not ecstatic, but at the moment sort of thing, because I would love us to be sort of moving along a little bit quicker and making things happen and seeing seniors maybe get 1 or 2 better results, but that's football. Yeah.
Well, Tommy, for yourself, you mentioned you've been at Pascoe Vale since you were under 7s, you said.
Under 7s, yeah.
Under 7s. How's your journey been at Pascoe Vale? I mean, you've been there from basically, as you said, 7 years old, now you're playing in the 20s. I guess take us through your journey at the club.
It was started very early. I was kicking a ball around from, I reckon, as soon as I was born. So came Pascoe Vale when I was under 7s, followed the mini Roos journey all the way up. And then the first year the NPL came in was I jumped into the under-12. So I've been in the NPL system from the start too. Still remember that first game of the NPL, away to Hume, 5-0 loss. But yeah, it's been good. It's been enjoyable. There's been ups and downs. But look, I think it's shaped me into the footballer that I am today.
So obviously as well, your dad being part of the club as well, sort of taking you through as well, and obviously he's played at such a high level too. How has that helped your progression, I guess, come along and, you know, taking that advice from someone who has been there and done that?
Yeah, my dad always says he's never forced me to play, which I appreciate because I don't feel forced. I'm doing it out of love by myself, the support that I get from him, unbelievable. Car rides home. I don't drive with him in the car now. I've got my own car. But look, I think that having that extra support helps me develop as a footballer in other ways too, Dad only came involved in the club recently, so other than that, he's been coaching as well, obviously playing at a high level too. Having that experience has obviously helped me too.
Has he ever coached you before? Like, has he been your coach before? We've seen we've seen the like the father-son relation in terms of coaching and everything.
He's taken one session before. That was back at under 11s, I think it was, where the coach couldn't make it, and begging my dad goes, all right, I'll take it just for the boys. But no, he's never coached me.
Okay. Yeah. And Nick as well, wanted to ask, obviously, now your son has made the move to play for Green Gully now. Obviously, he's had a bit of an injury interrupted period, but he scored the other week as well. He's in some good form, I guess. How have you seen his progression now that he's, playing obviously at the high level with Gully at the moment?
Yeah, really good, Nick. It's a different challenge, obviously, with him at the moment, sort of thing. Is a fairly strong group there at Green Gully, which Steve Downs has sort of put together this year, which is it's good, and it's good for the club, obviously. He's finding it really, I don't know, how can you say? He's one of those boys that come out of COVID. When he went into COVID at the age of 19 sort of thing, he was flying high sort of thing, as you would say, which was fantastic sort of thing. And then went into COVID and sort of, just sort of probably took a step back a little bit and just relaxed a little bit sort of thing. And then obviously when the started going again, and obviously sort of thought, well, we're going now, and we sort of stopped again. So he's sort of found that little transition, like Tommy was sort of saying, that with those younger boys sort of thing, it's about them just loving the game, just going and playing sort of thing. And we did a fair bit of work in the backyard with himself and his brother and me sort of thing, and trying to be the father, not the coach, but I was still trying to make them work sort of thing, and just put a bit of light at the end of the tunnel saying, you know what, we'll be back soon playing. So look, I love just going to watch him play. I think he's got a ton of ability, and he's got the world at his feet if he really wants it sort of thing, to go on to be a footballer sort of thing. It's just, obviously, and this is why we sort of set up what we did, Nick, at the club at Pascoal, because over the last few years we had Nicholas, obviously, and Ace and Ishak sort of thing, who went on to Melbourne Victory. And we had these couple of boys that have come in through the under-18s and the 21s, and they've been playing consistent football at Pascoal at senior level, and then we hadn't had that for about a year or two. We've always had one or two boys that have come sort of in and out of the senior squad. And this is what I sort of made a big point of to Lou right at the start of at the end of last season, was that, if I'm going to take this 21s job, this is what we need to have happening. We need to have, at least half a dozen boys over the next, year, 2-3 years playing in that senior football team, and consistently. Not just in and out sort of thing. If someone comes along and takes them and they go, and we understand football and that's what happens sort of thing. But as a club, if we can grasp this, what we have underneath and what we've got at the moment with these boys between the 18s and 21s and coming through with the 16s, then hopefully that we can move that forward, and hopefully these boys are playing senior football consistently in the next couple of years.
As a coach, when you see a player make the jump and start playing consistent senior football, obviously coming up and making that move, how, do you feel that sense of pride as well, that you've had that, a bit, like you've been part of that journey for him, and he's, made that move and he's reached where he is now? Do you almost feel a sense of badge of honour? Yeah,
definitely. Yeah, look, at the end of the day, I've put a heap of work with him, sort of thing, even at home and on the football pitch sort of thing. So, and there's been a few other coaches sort of thing that have been involved with him over the years, obviously. But look, it is a sense of pride, and it's just more pride with what we sort of have coming through at the club too. Sort of thing. I said I've had these boys for a while now, sort of thing, and just looking at their growth and development coming through, it's really, really pleasing, and it's just self-satisfaction for me to say, you know what, hopefully I think I'm doing the right thing by these boys, bringing them along, and seeing them move along and doing the right thing by themselves. Then that's the key sort of thing. So when they have moved on from the club or, you know, from me, then they're still using their tools that they've got, sort of thing, to really grasp it and sort of really improve and keep going on with it.
Well, we're into the second half of the season now with you guys. Obviously, you know, reverse fixtures now, playing everyone again, getting towards the tail end. What's the goals now for you guys heading into the second half of the year? Because obviously you mentioned the squad changes every week. There's no real promotion relegation unless the seniors get the job done. What are those goals now? Is it just to try finish as high as possible, try and win the league? Like, how do you guys sort of see it from here?
There is a final system.
Oh, there is a final system. Yep.
Yeah, there is a top 4 system.
Oh, brilliant. Yep.
So obviously that's been a bit of a little incentive for us, sort of thing, to get up and stay there. But look, from day one, we've always said, and like I said, with Lou, the communication was right from the start that we're just here to develop footballers, and that's what we want to see. And for these boys come through and virtually to play senior football and train with the seniors, and that's what it's got to be about more than anything else. And the results will come, hopefully, as we go along, sort of thing. And if they do, they do. If they don't, they don't. But it's more about seeing these boys go and train on their Monday, Wednesday with the senior group is more self-satisfaction than rather than seeing, you know, oh, we're sitting second or third or fourth or whatever it is, sort of thing, at the end of the year. But, you know, if we can, you know, grasp everything together and put it all together, sort of thing, and turn up on a weekend and put a result together, it's really good. But like I said, it is challenging because there's different players coming in the squad week in, week out. So, you know, so we have under 18 boys sitting on the bench on a Friday night, then they go play for the 18s on a Sunday, sort of thing. So, and just managing their time, obviously, sort of thing, making sure they're not overloaded either. But, you know, I think Tommy will say, I don't think we've once said, you know, we want to go and win the league or anything like that.
Yeah.
It's just about, you know what, if the carrot's there at the end of it and we're good enough, we're there and we'll compete.
Do you sort of set yourself some personal goals for this season, Tommy? Like, is there something that, you know, when you look at the year, obviously, as you mentioned, there is finals, there is that. It's hard to sort of plan for that, and obviously you got to push for it at the right time and set that expectation at the right time. Don't want to look too much to the ladder. But for yourself personally, do you set yourself a bit of a goal throughout the season?
Yeah, I do. I think I started setting myself goals probably about under 15s, under 16 stage. And for the last few years, I've had that goal of when I've come into the under 21 squad to play some senior football that season. Obviously, that first year I played in the 21s, there was no season at all, so I couldn't achieve that. Last year, I think I was getting close, but then again, the season got cut. But again, this year I've set myself the same goal of trying to play some minutes in the senior squad this season. I did that in pre-season, but I want actual league minutes. So if I could achieve that personally and hopefully be in that setup very soon, then I think I'll be on the right path.
So in terms of Pascoe Vale as a club, obviously all levels are now starting to play again. We're starting to see obviously continuity all the way down to mini roos. Are you starting to feel that vibe again that, you know, the football club's back up and about now? Things are starting to feel a bit of normality. You know, things are starting to tick along again. That real sense of what was there prior to COVID is starting to come back.
Yeah, Tommy explained as a player. I think from a player's point of view, Nick, I think more importantly, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think the vibe's coming back slowly. Getting obviously the seniors getting relegated in 2019 put a bit of a dampener, but I think we bounced back pretty strong. We're obviously disappointed, but last year I coached in the under 7 squad. Yeah. So now coming into training and the mini roos are running around and you see the parents again, so that family vibes, I think it's back. Not that we ever lost or anything, but I think it's coming better off now.
I mean, take us through your coaching experiences. Obviously, you said under 7s. Is this your first full year now in charge, or did you do something?
Last year was my first full year. I think it was before. I think it was that week before their season actually started. Their coach pulled out, and the Resi coach last year, Ollie, actually asked, he goes, "Would you be interested?" And I said, "Look, with around training and everything, I can try and work something out." Yeah. And I did. I took the boys for the whole season until it got postponed. It was interesting. You see a different side of football.
Yeah.
Organising training sessions, managing players, even at that level, managing parents, especially at that level was the big thing. But I think I did a pretty decent job. Now I do a bit of coaching one-on-one with a few players. And I think that helps me too as well, because I'll jump in a few sessions as well. So, yeah.
In terms of in terms of the coaching sort of balance, in terms of getting used to it, did you find it difficult to start in terms of managing different players and their temperaments and mentalities? And you mentioned the parent side of things that is probably more prevalent when they're younger. As they get older, it changes a little bit. But how did you find that adjustment?
Well, training wasn't too bad. Planning sessions, anything football, I'm obsessed with.
Yeah.
So playing the whole session part, I had no issue with. I'd finish uni or I'd be on a uni break and I'll be planning a session for that night.
Yeah.
That wasn't the issue. Managing a few of the boys, some of them, obviously at that level, they're all at different levels.
Yeah, sure.
So managing that, I think it got to a point in the season where I had that many players that I brought in another team out of mine and we split the boys up. We didn't split them up on ability, we actually mixed them up. So we thought, you know what, if the so-called better kids mixed with the kids that are just coming into football, and it worked. A lot of the kids actually developed a lot quicker than what we thought.
Yeah.
I pushed a few of the boys now, bypassed the under-8s completely, pushed them up to the under-9s.
Wow.
So they've developed there. With the parents, it was interesting at the start. Coming into it, didn't know much about it. So I think I managed the parents well too. It was interesting, phone calls and all that. Why is he not in the squad this week or whatever? And then you have to explain to them, I've got 18 boys and the Mini Roos rules, you can only have, I think, 8 or so for that squad, especially under 7s, it's only 4 aside.
Yeah.
So then managing that rotation-wise, keeping an app on your phone, and you got equal game time, then you're like, okay, I've got to manage it over 2 weeks now, okay. So yeah, it worked well.
Yeah, I mean, that would be tough because you've obviously got to have the tough decisions. You've been there, obviously you've done it and you've had to make the tough decisions. I mean, I'll ask the both of you, when you deal with those tough decisions, like how do you guys like to handle it or look to handle it? Probably best way to put it.
Oh, Nick, I think I've sort of managed it quite well over the years, to be honest. I've virtually just sat the parents down from day one.
Yeah.
And the players and just sort of said, well, this is how it's going to work with me and these are my rules. Obviously, the club's got their rules, sort of thing. And if we can't work by my rules, but my phone's on, ring me, text me, whatever it is. But if you've got something to say, please come and see me.
Yeah.
Don't have to go and see anyone else, speak to anyone else. Let's deal with it here in front, if we can. And then, you know what, if we have to go further down the club, then we will. But other than that, I've sort of been fortunate. I've had a pretty good run in that sense. I know there's always one or two parents or players that aren't happy all the time. Sort of but that happens. That's football, you know what I mean? And that's probably in any sport.
Yeah.
You know, like I said, even my old boy, when I go see him and sit on the bench, I'm not happy either, you know what I mean? But at the end of the day, you know, well, I'm not the coach.
Yeah.
So he's the coach and I'm not going to ring and complain to him either.
Yeah, no,
sure. You know what I mean? So it's just one of those things that you just sort of manage as you sort of go and you see fit. But look, every parent wants to see their kid out there playing, sort of thing, but there's going to be times when they're not and they're going to get taken off when you probably think they should be on the ground and they're not. So, look, it is difficult, but like Tommy said, it's great for players like Tommy to get involved with the little mini roos. You know, when we had a session last week with the senior group, actually with all the senior players with the mini roos, which was quite funny, sort of thing. So. You see them chasing around with the mini roos, having a kick, sort of thing, which is great. Just gives that little vibe amongst the club that we want to sort of just be all together, which is great.
Yeah, for yourself, Tommy, like have you like in terms of managing parents, kids, like because obviously it is tough to say to someone, obviously, like they're not playing this week. Did you find it tough at the start and easier as it sort of came along as well?
Yeah, I found it tough. Like you see a little 6-year-old running around and can't play this week. It's like you shouldn't be making these calls at this young of an age. But I think it was managed well. Like Nick said, I spoke to the parents at the start and I told them exactly how I was going to go with it, and it worked well. So like Nick said, there's always that one or two parents that have an issue with something, and you work your way around it, and it works.
Well, before we wrap up, guys, I mean, the elephant in the room is obviously what happened this morning with the Socceroos. I mean, we're all still abuzz. We're running all on fumes here at the moment. I'm assuming the both of you guys were all up this morning watching that game. What were your thoughts?
Quite amazing, Nick. Yeah, quite amazing. Like, do I think we're going to get a result? Probably not for the game, but then watching Peru, the way they sort of played, I think to myself, well, you've got to stay positive here, and we're probably going to get something out of this. But watching the first half, you probably thought, you know what, this probably going to penalties, and it did. And look, congratulations to the Aussies. It's a great achievement to get there again. Yeah.
Well, would you ever do what Arnie did with bringing a goalkeeper on like that before a penalty shootout?
No chance. No. And I think the keeper that I took off, I don't think he'll be talking to me tomorrow.
For yourself, Tommy, how'd you see it?
I woke up actually for the game, and I was a bit nervous. I don't know if I watched that game for the first half, and I chucked on the Croatia-France game too. So I had two screens going at once. So watching both games, look, I'm happy that Australia's going to a World Cup.
Yeah.
So I'm going to have two nations there with Croatia and Australia.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think they got the job done, which is what they needed. Did they play the best sort of football? Probably not. But they're there.
Yeah.
And I think that's all that matters.
I think we're all basically of that same opinion. It wasn't the best, but hey, at least we got there in the end. Well, guys, thank you so much for coming on board. Good luck for the rest of the season. Good luck for this weekend as well. Friday night, I'm assuming, playing as well, just for the Saturday. Oh, so no Friday night game this week.
They're coming from Shepparton.
Of course.
Give a bit of allowance then.
Yeah. No, fair enough. Well, guys, again, thank you. Good luck Saturday, and I'm sure we'll chat to you guys again very soon.
Appreciate it, Nick.
Well, this wraps up Paco Radio for this week here on FNR Football Nation Radio, brought to you by Senol. Miss any of it, head to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and catch up with the full thing there. So for myself, Nick Tabano, it's goodbye for now.
You're listening to Paco Radio, brought to you by Senol on FNR Football Nation Radio.